Welcome back. Today we recap I Became the Stepmother of a Terminally Ill Child. Subscribe for more. Our story begins with Clarice, a silver-haired beauty surrounded by children. With a soothing voice, she weaves enchanting tales that captivate every young soul. As the story concludes, the children huddle closer, begging for just one more. Clarice smiles warmly, but a voice announces that their guardians have finally arrived. The children scatter instantly, rushing into their mother's warm and waiting embraces. Standing alone, Clarice watches them leave, her heart fueled by a secret, noble purpose. This orphanage represents her mother's sacred and final legacy. After her father died, her mother created this sanctuary for lost souls before passing. Now, Clarice carries this heavy burden alone, vowing to keep the dream alive. Her solitude is broken by a sudden announcement. Her family has finally arrived. She joins Count Nocturnal, his wife, and their daughter Annette at a grand table. They act suspiciously kind, celebrating her birthday while hiding their poisonous, true motives. They stole her estate after her mother's death. This sudden affection is a facade. Suddenly, a royal envoy appears to deliver her mother's final will and testament. The decree is absolute. Clarice is the rightful heir to the entire Nocturnal fortune. She cares nothing for gold, only for the children and her mother's dying wish. While the Count's greed flares, the envoy reveals a devastating and cruel complication. To claim the inheritance, she must produce the missing magic stone. Tension fills the room. The Count's mask shatters, revealing his predatory nature toward the now cornered Clarice. Amidst the chaos, Clarice notices Annette behaving in a very suspicious manner. Following her cousin, Clarice arrives at the formidable and cold estate of Duke 𝒂𝒕𝒅. Annette sold the priceless stone for mere pocket money. The stakes have just doubled. The stone is held by Duke 𝒂𝒕𝒅, a ruthless man feared by all. Clarice must reclaim her family's treasure to protect her mother's sanctuary at all costs. Her resolve burns bright, even as the Duke refuses to return the sacred stone. Refusing to surrender, Clarice searches for any way to reclaim what is rightfully hers. Suddenly, a baby's piercing cry shatters the air, pulsing with waves of raw magic. Fearing the worst, Clarice rushes toward the sound to shield the helpless, screaming infant. To her shock, she finds her missing family heirloom sitting right there. Duke Albert 𝒂𝒕𝒅 appears, holding a rattle and radiating a cold, lethal aura. His hostility lingers until he sees Clarice soothe the child with effortless, maternal grace. The baby falls silent, clutching her finger. Intrigued, the Duke commands her to follow. She soon discovers the child is his fragile, adopted son, Theo. Theo cries again, his magic shaking the room while Albert's desperate attempts fail. Clarice steps in, her gentle touch instantly hushing the boy's dangerous magical outburst. She credits her years at the orphanage for this unique and soothing gift. However, the magical ripples in the air signal a much darker, tragic truth. Albert confesses the tragedy. Theo's body is breaking, leaving him only 3 months to live. The magic stone is now the only thing keeping the fragile boy alive. Albert offers a deal: care for Theo, and the stone will finally be hers. Looking at Theo's innocent face, Clarice realizes she must save him to save her dream. Before signing the contract, Clarice makes one crucial, non-negotiable demand of her own. She demands protection for her facility. To her amazement, the Duke agrees immediately. Suddenly, the bold butler Rusty suggests a shocking, permanent solution to all their problems. "Marry Clarice?" The Duke froze, but a tiny, innocent voice suddenly shattered the heavy silence. Theo, ignoring the chaos, clung to Clarice and chirped a single word: "Mama!" The world stopped. In that one word, an impossible, miraculous bond was finally born. After that shock, Rusty guided Clarice toward her new life and weight of duties. Secrets needed uncovering. Tests were arranged to probe their strange, magical connection. Clarice had 0 mana, yet she alone could tame Theo's raging, overflowing power. This impossible riddle defied every known law of this magical, ancient world. While riding home, a desperate, piercing scream suddenly tore through the manor's quiet. She rushed to help, only to find a truly terrifying sight waiting for her. A crimson-eyed boy snatched Theo and dove straight into the dark, empty abyss. Clarice lunged, catching him as they all spiraled toward the hard, unforgiving ground. Magic cushioned their fall. Shaken, Clarice reached out with a gentle, loving hand. The boy snarled, clutching the wailing infant like a cornered, wild wolf. Rusty arrived, gasping at the deep, bloody gashes on Clarice's trembling, wounded arms. Suddenly, the boy's hands glowed with a rare, divine light of pure healing. This was Lord Eric, Albert's second son, a hidden, legendary prodigy of the house. Eric's life revolved around one thing: shielding his little brother, baby Theo, from harm. He watched Clarisse like a hawk, his icy gaze remaining cold and deeply unforgiving. He even tasted every meal for poison, a tiny shadow following her every step. He was adorable yet terrifying, refusing to grant her even a shred of trust. Determined to expose her, he spied until he saw something truly, shockingly scandalous. Clarisse was cradling the Duke's face, and Albert was standing there, soaking wet. "Aha!" Eric shouted, catching the flustered Clarisse red-handed in a compromising act. Tension crackled. Before Eric could yell, the Duke stepped forward to protect her. Albert explained the mix-up, leaving Eric flushing deep red with a wave of regret. Eric bowed in shame, but Albert coldly dismissed any idea of a potential wedding. No marriage? Ouch. Quickly, Clarisse tried to bridge the awkward, painful gap. Once the Duke left, she invited Eric to help care for little Theo together. Seeing Eric hold his brother like fragile glass moved her heart to tears. Finally, Eric smiled. "How are you so good at this?" he whispered softly. Clarisse shared her mother's dream, a warm home for orphans without any families left. As an orphan himself, Eric felt a deep, soul-stirring connection to their shared fate. With a shy, quiet nod, he vowed to visit her facility one day. Clarisse beamed with relief. The boy's icy walls were finally starting to melt. But peace vanished when a tutor began cruelly mocking Eric's lack of swordsmanship. The boy looked broken. Clarisse's heart ached at such blatant, cold-hearted injustice. She marched to the Duke, determined to fight for the young lord's dignity. "Focus on Theo," Albert snapped, shutting her out with a cold, sharp finality. Clarisse bowed her head, her spirit dampened by the Duke's unyielding stone wall. Later, Rusty warned Albert to show kindness where it truly mattered most for family. Clarisse couldn't forget Eric. Seeking answers, she entered the vast, silent Grand Library. There he was, buried under mountains of books on healing and ancient medicine. She sat beside him, wanting to heal his wounded pride with genuine, warm comfort. Startled by her kindness, Eric fled the room in a panicked, flustered retreat. These two. Later, Rusty began revealing the dark truth about the two brothers. Eric and Theo aren't Albert's by birth. They are the orphaned sons of the Duke's brother and a legendary healer. After a cruel tragedy stole their parents away, Albert took them in as his own. This revelation strikes a deep chord within Clarisse's soul. Their grief mirrors her own painful past. But by dawn, her worst nightmares resurface once again. That vile tutor lashes out at Eric. Driven by malice, he actually draws steel against the poor child. Clarisse moves like a flash. She shields Eric, her eyes burning with a mother's fierce, protective fury. Her icy gaze paralyzes. "Our favorite duo." Clarisse's voice rings out, shielding young Eric with fierce, unyielding determination. That monster dares to slash Eric's notebook, the sacred vessel of all his healing knowledge. Simmering with fury, Clarisse remains poised, countering his cruelty with a sharp, icy smirk. A well-deserved strike. Her defiance only fuels the tutor's explosive, burning rage. As he strikes again, an iron hand clamps down. Duke Albert has arrived! Pure fury blazes in the Duke's eyes. He claims Clarisse, shattering his marriage vow. The tutor freezes in terror. He desperately masks his vile nature behind a hollow bow. But Albert isn't fooled. His voice thunders, declaring the wretched tutor dismissed forever. Rumors of the man's sins had reached the Duke. Now, justice falls with certain power. Finally, the wretch tastes his own medicine. The storm breaks as Albert turns toward Eric. Overwhelming guilt strikes him. In his worry for Theo, he had cruelly overlooked young Eric. With deep sincerity, he apologizes. Duke Albert vows to personally train young Eric himself. Now he can finally give the boy the care he deserves, forging a deep bond. Days later, Clarisse tells Rusty about the truly astonishing scene she had witnessed. The mighty Duke humbled himself for Eric. Rusty explains, Albert is a soldier thrust into power. That icy aura is just the armor of a battle-worn soldier learning how to lead. Soon after, Clarisse and tiny Theo find peace within the sanctuary of the lush greenhouse. Smiling gently, she plays with the child. Suddenly, a miracle unfolds at Theo's laughter. Flowers explode into radiant bloom. Petals swirl in a magical dance throughout the glass house. A breathtaking sight. As if nature rejoices, Duke Albert strides in, drawn by unseen urgency. The air is alive with the sweet fragrance of blossoms in full, radiant bloom. But his gaze halts on one sight. Theo, cradled in Clarisse's arms. She explains everything. Theo's dormant life magic finally awakens. To witness this miracle, Albert desperately tries to make his son smile. Yet, the moment Theo sees his father's terrifyingly stern face, the poor child trembles in pure terror. The legendary Duke, feared by all, is now the source of his own son's tears. Clarisse stifles a giggle and gently sets Theo down. She turns to Albert, begging him to smile for his boy. However, the Duke's attempt is anything but soft. It is the chilling grin of a villain, sharp and dark. With a playful glint in her eyes, Clarisse steps forward. Using her fingertips, she lifts his lips and cups his face, melting his icy gaze to find the hidden warmth beneath. To her, it is a joke. To Albert, it's a touch that shatters his every iron defense. Ensnared by her warmth, Albert clasps her hand. Stunned, she doesn't fear him. Theo watches them with pure, innocent joy. His sweet laughter rings out, and the greenhouse explodes into vibrant life once again. Radiant flowers bloom as petals dance through the air like magical, colorful confetti. Confirmed. Theo gains mana with smiles but risks death through tears. Later, Eric paces the vandal Rick halls. His steps are heavy with thought. Suddenly, a sound from the hall catches his ear. It comes from the nursery. Driven by curiosity, he peeks inside and witnesses a sight he never expected. The Duke stands with Clarisse, who holds Theo with a love that radiates throughout the room. Overwhelmed, Eric retreats, feeling he has intruded upon a private, sacred moment of family healing. Ever since witnessing that tender scene, Eric begins to act quite strangely. One morning, while feeding his brother, Eric's thoughts wander toward that portrait of the Duke, Clarisse, and little Theo. Lost in his daydreams, he spills food on Theo's clothes, but Clarisse just offers a warm, reassuring smile. Guilt-stricken, Eric hands the baby over and retreats, using sword practice with the Duke as a hasty excuse. Sensing his inner turmoil, Clarisse follows in secret to observe their training session from the shadows. It looks normal at first, but then she sees it. Eric's tiny hands are shaking violently against the cold steel. Pure trauma flashes in his eyes as memories of his fallen parents return. Clarisse can't watch anymore and rushes out. Both Albert and Eric freeze. The Duke explains he told the boy he needn't fight, yet Eric refuses to stop. To young Eric, the sword is a heavy legacy he is terrified to drop. He fears that if he fails, the burden will fall on someone else. Albert insists he never expected this of him. He never cared for the boy's martial skill. In truth, he anticipated this very struggle from the start. Eric takes after his father, a gentle soul who shudders at the mere thought of battle. Albert admits he became a warrior only to shield his brother, then kneels before the boy with true tenderness. He encourages Eric to embrace magic instead, his true talent, and reminds him that he still has Theo. Where one brother falters, the other will stand strong. Eric's eyes finally sparkle with a newfound, radiant joy. His spirit soars at his father's acceptance. With a heart full of hope, Eric eagerly vows to try his best. By the next day, Eric is transformed and full of light, even revealing that Theo's birthday is fast approaching. A celebration for the little lord. Clarisse immediately begins dreaming of a grand, noble festival for the toddler. Her excitement hits a wall, however, when Duke Albert flatly rejects the idea of a birthday party. He claims Theo's health is too delicate for a crowd, yet Clarisse senses a deeper, unspoken sorrow behind his eyes. She chooses to respect his distance, though the mystery weighs heavily upon her kind heart. The news crushes Eric. His gloom is so infectious that even baby Theo begins to feel the weight of sadness. Desperate to hide his tears, Eric pulls away, avoiding his brother so the baby won't catch his lingering grief. The plan backfires as Theo begins to pout, and not even Clarisse's gentlest charms can make the baby smile. Refusing to let this family suffer, Clarisse decides it's time to take a firm stand against the Duke. Flanked by the boys, she corners Albert, pleading for a small, intimate gathering just to show Theo some love. Finally, the Duke gives in. The sheer explosion of joy from Clarisse and Eric is enough to light the room. Soon, little Theo is king of the table, seated before a modest feast prepared just for him. Surrounded by treats and sweet apple cake, the baby's eyes glow as Clarisse and Eric shower him with affection. Their happy laughter fills the halls. Then, it is time for the most important part, the birthday gift. With trembling pride, Eric presents a worn, well-loved plushie, the most precious treasure from his own childhood. He had spent days painstakingly sewing it back together, determined to pass his comfort down to his little brother. Clarisse finally understands why the boy had been hiding away in his room for so many long hours. What an absolutely precious soul. Engrossed in their happiness, they don't notice Duke, Albert, and Rusty entering the mansion, watching the scene from afar. He stares at the warmth and laughter emotions he once claimed were completely foreign to his cold heart. When Rusty asks if he'll join, Albert turns away, claiming such joy isn't for him, but his resolve is wavering. The invisible threads of this family are tightening. Soon, even the icy Duke will be caught in their loving embrace. Later, as Theodore begins to wail in his crib, Duke Albert softly approaches the crying infant. He reveals a shimmering nocturnal heirloom, and Theodore instantly falls silent as golden magic sparkles through the air. The trial is a success. Clarisse had been studying the family's secret arts to combine them with her own magic. Such powerful, unique abilities are the hallmark of the most ancient and prestigious noble bloodlines. While the nocturnal family possesses great power, Clarisse still finds herself struggling with even the simplest of spells. Albert notes that the artifact must remain with him, but Clarisse quickly reminds him of their binding contract. As the heirloom's light fades, they know it's limited, but it provides the precious time needed to save Theo. Suddenly, Maria, a magic-resistant maid, arrives. Albert tells Clarisse she can finally find time for herself again. Clarisse casts her eyes down in modesty before making a daring request of the Duke. The next morning, she reveals her plans to study the family's secret arts. Eric brusquely offers a protective charm, masking his concern. She is deeply moved, knowing these stones only manifest during a mage's first awakening. Such a gift is a sacred vow of absolute trust and divine protection. En route, Lord Rusty notices her pendant, noting that Albert gifted him a matching one. Eric is so thoughtful. It is an undeniable bond. Yet, she wonders why her own magic failed to produce a stone. When she healed Theodore, could her powers have awakened long ago? Upon arrival, a swarm of cheering children welcomes them warmly. The little ones quickly swarm Rusty, eager to play. Meanwhile, inside the quiet facility office, she remembers the vital records were relocated. She turns to Phi, the estate aide, to hunt for clues about her lineage. Suddenly, a loud disturbance erupts at the main gate. She immediately recognizes the intruder's voice. It is that woman, Annette. While Annette berates the sentries, Clarisse steps forward, demanding her immediate departure. Annette sees, loathing Clarisse's newfound confidence and the knights shielding her. Suddenly, she puts on a fake act of affection, weeping over the family heirloom. Clarisse coldly shoves her aside. Clarisse declares she will reclaim the relic, straight from the Duke's own hands. Cornered, Annette plays the victim, tearfully denying every accusation thrown her way. As guards murmur, Clarisse remembers the family's greed. While the elders crave coin, Annette's malice runs deeper. She is a master of manipulation, even poisoning the heart of Clarisse's own fiancé. She even self-harmed to frame Clarisse, maintaining a fragile, innocent mask. What a venomous, two-faced snake. By the time the truth surfaced, the damage was already done. Ostracized by all, she sought refuge in her mother's last legacy, this very orphanage. Clutching the glowing stone at her throat, Eric's gentle reassurance echoes in her mind. Long has she been alone, but the warmth of Eric's trust grants her a fleeting moment of peace. Turning back to Annette, she vows to end her cousin's greed. The heirloom stays until every contract is honored. She turns her back on Annette's desperate excuses, but the brat grabs her necklace. She greedily asks if they should just split this extra treasure. She smugly offers to settle the debts. Her entitlement truly knows no bounds. Enough! Clarisse delivers a stinging slap, shouting that this stone belongs to her alone. She warns her not to defile the gift, from the person she cherishes most. Enraged, Annette mocks Clarisse's lack of mana, unleashing a barrage of lethal ice shards. Suddenly, the charm erupts in light. A powerful shockwave blasts Annette backward, leaving Clarisse stunned. It is Eric's guardian magic. Realizing the stone's immense value, a sinister plan forms in Annette's mind. She strikes again, but this time, her icy blades target a defenseless child. As Clarisse dives to protect the youth, a sudden snap of fingers summons an impenetrable shield. Rusty emerges, casually admitting that while his offense is weak, his defense is absolute. He promises that while she wears that stone, she is untouchable. Annette's desperate follow-up attacks crumble against his effortless barrier. Amazed by his hidden strength, she watches as Rusty leans in with a secretive whisper, asking for her silence. She realizes he is the Duke's ultimate secret weapon for dire emergencies. Why is such a guardian here? Rusty simply smiles, vowing to protect whatever his lord treasures. He confronts Annette, revealing his own matching crest. To oppose them is to challenge the Duke himself. With a chilling threat, he sends the terrified brat running. Overflowing with gratitude, Clarisse vows to repay the kindness of both Eric and Duke Albert. Justice served. But as twilight falls, a dark shadow looms over Duke Albert. A ruthless mercenary has seized hostages, threatening to spill innocent blood unless the Duke surrenders. A desperate father begs Duke Albert to save his son, while mocking mercenaries sneer at the Duke's dark rumors. They call him a monster who sacrifices children, but Albert merely scoffs at their pathetic ignorance. Suddenly, Knight Commander Marvin arrives at the scene, leading a formidable legion of shining steel. Marvin mocks the bandits' folly while Albert's gaze turns lethal, as the hostage's father cries out in agony. Unleashing a surge of shadowy magic, Albert effortlessly blasts the terrified mercenaries backward with overwhelming force. Such otherworldly power defies humanity. He coldly commands Marvin's knights to crush the remaining survivors. While families reunite in tears, a hidden smile vanishes from Albert's lips when a hooded child appears. A knight's urgent whisper shatters the Duke's composure with a shocking revelation about the child's identity. Albert looms over the captive mercenary, demanding to know if they realize the child's royal status. "Your wretched life wouldn't suffice as payment if he had died," Albert growls in a cold, murderous fury. Who is this mysterious boy? Panic erupts as knights discover incendiary traps hidden all around the fort. Turning back with a gaze of pure frost, the Duke prepares to extract the final truth. The mercenary confesses. Albert recognizes the Nocturnal family's cursed magic behind this sinister plot. Inside the quiet carriage, Clarisse contemplates her bloodline's holy purification magic, the only weapon capable of cleansing such ancient darkness. Realizing Theodore is likely cursed, she returns home to the boy's joyful and spirited greeting. Theodore cries Mama in her arms, while Eric hides his longing behind a mask of cool pride. With Rusty's nudge, a blushing Eric finally welcomes Clarisse home with a rare and heartfelt embrace. Pulling away, Eric's eyes sparkle with a secret about little Theodore's amazing new progress. Count Nocturnal erupts in fury over the failure, yet vows a more sinister scheme is already unfolding. At the manor, hearts race as everyone watches, Theodore attempts his very first steps on his own. Cheers erupt as the toddler stands. Eric beams, boasting of his role as the perfect big brother. They grow so quickly. Longing for a family moment, Clarisse asks for the Duke's current whereabouts. Albert is away on a mission. Eric wonders if his cold father will even care about Theodore's milestone. A sweet idea strikes Clarisse. Theodore deserves his very first pair of beautiful walking shoes. Rules forbid guests without the Duke's leave, but Clarisse's eyes light up with a rebellious new plan. "Then we shall go to town ourselves," she declares, embarking on a secret and exciting outing. Amidst the stalls, Eric senses her worry and asks for a date, leaving Clarisse blushing furiously. Holding her hand tightly, Eric's clumsy attempt at showing affection is absolutely heart-melting for Clarisse. After choosing Theodore's pair, she surprises Eric with a gift of sturdy, handsome brown shoes. For playing in the garden, she smiles, offering a token of her deep maternal gratitude. Their golden afternoon concludes by the town fountain, a moment of rare and peaceful family healing. She marvels at the people's joy, which contrasts sharply with the Duke's terrifying public reputation. The Duke returns! Clarisse freezes as Albert appears with a mysterious child bearing his own eyes. Whispers ripple through the crowd like wildfire. Who is this secret boy following the Grand Duke? Shaken, they press Rusty for answers as rumors of an illegitimate heir begin to swirl through town. Their shopping trip ends in heavy silence as Clarisse and Eric return to the Vanderlick estate. Theodore greets them warmly, but Albert's cold voice cuts through the air, questioning their secret outing. Showing off the new shoes, they hold their breath. Albert merely sighs and mutters, "Well done." Suddenly, the Duke's stoic gaze shatters as he notices the glowing necklace around Clarisse's neck. Eric interjects, declaring Clarisse is now an irreplaceable person in his world and their family's lives. In a rare moment of warmth, Albert strokes Eric's hair, acknowledging his son's growing heart. "Meet William," Albert announces, introducing the boy from town as the newest member of the manor. As the boys shake hands, Clarisse is haunted by William's uncanny and striking resemblance to the Duke. Albert commands Rusty to guide William, leaving a trail of unanswered questions in his wake. Clarisse tentatively asks if William is the Duke's flesh and blood. Albert's confirmation that he is Eric's half-brother leaves them utterly speechless. He reveals they were never legally wed, yet issues a stern warning. They must keep their distance, especially young Eric. Shifting his focus, he probes Clarisse about the mysterious, unique magic harbored by the Nocturnals. She deflects, promising a full written report. Later in Theodore's chambers, Clarisse's pen moves while her mind remains elsewhere. Disbelief colors her thoughts. Could the prestigious Duke truly have fathered a secret, illegitimate child? Noticing Eric's heavy, somber mood, she gently suggests they take a peaceful stroll through the estate gardens. Amidst the flowers, she struggles for words. Her fleeting moments with William offer no easy way to broach the subject. Suddenly, Eric asks about her stepsister. Clarice admits their icy bond made her feel lonelier than being truly solitary. Praying for a brotherly bond, she kneels and asks Eric his true intentions for William, leaving him in deep reflection. While they talk, little Theodore escapes his crib, stumbling directly into William's path amidst the garden greenery. William recognizes him instantly. Just then, a ribboned black cat appears, and Theo playfully catches its velvet tail. William softly teaches him gentleness. Soon, the entire garden echoes with the pure, joyous music of their shared laughter. His gaze dropping, William tells the toddler of his capture while traveling with the special commissioner. He won't remain in this manner for long. His official royal escort is expected to arrive at any moment. Panic-stricken, Clarice and Eric rush to Theodore's side, only to freeze when they realize who is holding him. Clarice offers a frantic apology, but William scolds her for losing sight of the babe. Eric bravely shields her from his criticism. Their fierce, mutual loyalty to one another draws a sudden, genuine burst of laughter from William's lips. William offers a hand of friendship, leaving Eric dazed. Pouting, William asks if he'd prefer being friends with Prince Dick instead. The realization hits like a lightning bolt. William is the first prince of Audon, and Dick is his younger brother. A heartbeat later, William howls at their theory of him being an illegitimate child. He is simply the devoted older brother to Prince Dick. With formal introductions finished, he demands a game of tag. A quick round of rock, paper, scissors decides the seeker. Scissors beats paper. William dashes away, declaring it is him against the combined trio of Eric, Theodore, and Clarice. During the chase, Clarice recalls the palace's dark rumors. The royal court is fractured into two warring factions. One side supports the first prince, the other the second, in a brutal struggle for the crown. The Duke's warning finally makes sense. Meanwhile, William nimbly dodges Eric, causing the boy to tumble into the dirt. He teases Eric's lack of grace, questioning House Vanderlyk's future strength if this clumsy boy is the chosen heir. "You're no ideal successor," he mocks. Eric stands tall, pleading with him not to judge his family by his shortcomings. Eric lunges again but misses. Suddenly, William feels a tiny tap from behind. Little Theodore has successfully caught him. William collapses in laughter on the grass. To his surprise, Eric extends a hand and offers a warm, forgiving smile. He shares his father's secret lesson. Whatever one brother lacks, the other shall always strive to provide. Stunned, William takes his hand. He never imagined the cold, stern Duke could possess such a sentimental heart. From the window, Albert watches them with a piercing glare. He tells Marvin it is time to make their move. Under the darkening sky, the group of four gathers together one last time. William offers a sincere apology for his cruelty. It was merely a test to see Eric's true, inner character. With a genuine smile, he offers his hand for a fresh start. To his utter shock, Eric flatly refuses it. William is frozen in surprise exactly as Eric planned. The cheeky boy bolts, leaving the stunned prince as the next tagger. The innocence of children is truly a miracle. They remain pure, treating even princes as nothing more than equals. The antics make William burst into laughter once more, as he begins chasing the two brothers with newfound joy. As the children vanish, Albert's shadow looms over Clarice, his sudden presence giving her a sharp, icy fright. He dryly reminds her of his orders. She is clearly not taking his warning about Prince William seriously enough. Clarice speaks her mind boldly. Does the great House of Vanderlyk truly intend to stand as an enemy to William? Unfazed, Albert explains that the ducal house remains strictly neutral, siding with neither the first nor second prince. Yet, a young soul like Eric has no voice in such cold, calculated political games of neutrality. Earlier today, Eric chose to see the boy behind the title, defying the political fate their positions demanded. Clarice's only goal is to honor young Eric's heartfelt wish. Faced with her unyielding resolve, Albert finally relents, departing silently with William at his side. Behind closed doors, the Duke presents William with a chilling report on the recent kidnapping. Their darkest fears are confirmed. The second prince's faction orchestrated the entire nightmare. Overcome with heavy gratitude and a silent apology, William offers a deep, respectful bow. Albert sternly reminds the boy that a first prince should never bow so easily. Regardless of his mother's status, his royal blood remains absolute and noble. Those brief words of recognition from the Duke heal a hidden wound in William's heart. Later, Rusty delivers a breathtaking gown, an invitation to accompany the Duke to a grand ball. With burning cheeks, Clarice listens as Rusty explains the dangerous motive behind this sudden request. Their recent shoe shopping trip was actually a narrow escape from a deadly assassination attempt. Cruelly, the true culprits attempted to frame Duke Albert as the shadow mastermind. New intelligence reveals that the real villain will be attending tonight's exclusive gala. The Duke plans to unmask the traitor, using Clarisse as his partner to avoid suspicion. He reassures her that Maria and the elite knights will guard the children tonight. Clarisse hesitates until young Eric himself begs her to help clear his father's name. Moved by Eric's fierce loyalty, Clarisse finally accepts the weight of this mission. For the sake of the boys, she steps into the moonlight as Albert's stunning partner. Even behind ornate masks, their regal elegance commands every eye in the ballroom. Suddenly, Albert pulls her close, his hand on her waist sparking a frantic blush. Unfazed by the proximity, the Duke coldly whispers that his target is finally in sight. Spotting a suspicious man in black, Albert sweeps her into a dance to blend in. As they glide, Clarisse remembers being banned from the dance lessons Annette once enjoyed. Who knew those lonely hours of practicing in the shadows would save her tonight? Once the music fades, Albert swiftly escorts her toward the manor's restricted VIP wing. He shatters a magical seal to enter, hunting for proof against the second prince's faction. They must infiltrate the chamber now to gather evidence before the conspirators can vanish. The Duke will not remain neutral while being framed for a heinous strike against William. His eyes burn with cold fury. He has no intention of letting them escape justice. Clarisse's own resolve blazes to match his, her maternal instincts fueling her courage. She cannot forgive those who would target an innocent child like William for power. Footsteps approach. Albert suddenly pulls Clarisse into a tight, protective embrace to hide them. Focus, Clarisse. Don't let the Duke's scent distract you from the villains nearby. Trapped in the tiny closet, she becomes painfully aware of the Duke's pounding heart. Romantic tension flickers, but the muffled voices outside quickly snap her back to reality. The conspirators are whispering nearby, weaving a web of lies around William and Albert. Phrases about their sinister plan proceeding smoothly hang heavy in the shadows. The stench of treason grows as the Marquis and the second prince's loyalists gather. The Marquis demands to know why the kidnapping shifted into a bloody assassination attempt. Shockingly, the culprit is Clarisse's own uncle, who arrogantly claims he only followed orders. The Marquis remains skeptical, fearing the plan is now too dangerous for the first prince. He departs to confirm the next move with a mysterious shadow. Who is it? Left alone, the smug nobles toast to the Count's ruthless reputation for successful executions. They sneer with dark confidence, trusting the Queen to oversee their wicked scheme. As they plot William's disappearance, the room finally empties, leaving Clarisse trembling in shock. Clarisse reeled in disbelief. Her uncle's treachery clearly knew no bounds. Choking on her shame, she begged the Duke for a fitting punishment. Albert softened his gaze. Bloodline aside, she was now his family's treasure. "Trust me," he whispered, promising a devastating end for the wicked Count. Returning home, the pair found the two brothers lost in dreamland. The masquerade's chaos had finally claimed the exhausted, adorable little ones. Seeing Eric's tight grip, Albert stayed to guard their peaceful slumber. He invited Clarisse to join, leaving the ultimate choice to her heart. Goodbye, romance. Awkwardly, she found a small spot to rest nearby. When Eric's tiny hand found hers, her lingering fears simply vanished. Dawn broke, and Eric blinked at the miraculous sight beside him. His shock turned to warmth. This felt like a real, happy family. Little Theo stirred next, his mind already plotting some morning mischief. Clarisse gasped awake, finding her fingers intertwined with the Duke's hand. Panicked by the sudden intimacy, she bolted, leaving the Duke stunned. The sensation of her warmth still lingered softly on his skin. At the office, his loyal subordinates began their relentless, playful teasing. Albert played it cool, but fate was clearly pulling his heartstrings. Maria revealed the truth. Little Theo was the secret, mischievous matchmaker. William tried to excuse the toddler's hilarious and impulsive little stunt. Clarisse took the blame herself, ever the humble and devoted soul. The boys knew everything. They weren't afraid, they stood by her side. Empowered, Clarisse vowed to sever her ties with the treacherous Count. Grinning, Eric produced a massive stack of detailed strategic documents. The two prodigies had drafted a full-scale assault against her uncle. The kingdom was split between William and his rival brother, Dick. The Queen Mother pulled the strings behind Prince Dick's every move. A political bride, she viewed William as a threat to her legacy. Her own son's birth only fueled her desperate thirst for power. She relied on vultures like Count Nocturnal to maintain her iron grip. Clarisse knew her uncle was a snake long before this moment. His greed wasn't just for her inheritance. It was far deadlier. A prince's kidnapping? The boy's eyes lit up with sudden realization. William deduced the truth. The Count still hungered for the stone. With newfound fire, the young geniuses refined their brilliant master plan. Watching them, a rare, tender smile graced Clarice's weary lips. Finally, they presented their polished strategy to the great Duke himself. Albert reviewed every word before giving his absolute seal of approval. He rewarded them with the legendary head pat of ultimate victory. Alone at last, Clarice worried for the children's safety in this war. Albert shrugged. He had been a soldier since his own youth. Marvin promised to keep the young masters out of real harm's way. Deep down, Albert saw the flaws, but admired their bold spirits. Yet, the mystery of the magic stone was about to get complicated. The Count was coming to visit. Was it concern or a trap? Is this merely a clever ruse to seize her legendary mana stone? Days fly as William and Eric depart, leaving poor Theo heartbroken over his brother's sudden absence. To soothe his soul, Clarice suggests a refreshing stroll through the manor's sprawling, sun-kissed gardens. While Clarice fetches his coat, Theo's genius mind ignites, plotting a daring and adorable great nursery escape. At the gates, Rusty maintains formal grace as the arrogant guest, Count Nocturnal, finally makes his entrance. Peace shatters the moment Clarice realizes little. Theo has somehow picked the door's lock all by himself. And just like that, the tiny adventurer's grand quest into the unknown officially begins with a giggle. Ducking under tables like a pro, he faces his ultimate nemesis, the towering, mountain-like grand staircase. Bravely, he recalls Eric's golden rule of survival: always keep a firm grip on the railing. With fiery determination and boundless toddler energy, Theo successfully conquers every single daunting marble step. Success. But a hero needs fuel. His tiny nose detects the heavenly scent of fresh apple pie. Meanwhile, as Theo ninjas into a floral vase, Rusty endures the Count's insufferable and snobbish presence. The Count sneers at the pie, calling it peasant trash, igniting a silent fury in Rusty's eyes. This insult stings, as the man's unannounced arrival wasted hours of the staff's meticulous and dedicated preparation. Rusty retreats, while the mansion's smallest fugitive continues his master-level infiltration toward the kitchen. Theo fixates on his sugary prize. Alone, the Count smirks, relishing the Duke's absence to plot. He arrived early by design, despite his loud, hypocritical complaints about the Duke's supposed lack of punctuality. His smug grin vanishes instantly as he slips on a stray, sticky piece of pie on the floor. The phantom thief Theo has vanished. Elsewhere, Clarice hears the Count's grating voice, but ignores it. Her heart beats for one mission only: finding her precious Theo before any trouble finds him. This isn't the boy's first jailbreak, and the manor staff have secret protocols for such emergencies. But logic fails against a genius baby. Clarice must track the magical resonance of Theo's enchanted bracelet. Suddenly, a high-pitched cry of pure terror echoes through the hall, freezing Clarice's very soul. Lost in the dark, Theo trembles, convinced a shadow monster is lurking within the unfamiliar room. Relief! It's just his brothers. William summons a warm, sun-like glow to banish the frightening shadows. Theo wails for Eric. His whole daring mission was simply to find the brothers he missed so dearly. William suggests a game to soothe him. Soon, Clarice finds the trio sleeping in a peaceful heap. Across the manor, the atmosphere turns deadly as the Count finally confronts the formidable Duke. Cutting through pleasantries, he demands that His Grace summon his niece to the drawing room immediately. Amidst the post-nap snuggles, Eric bolts awake, blushing to find Clarice watching over them with love. She gently reveals that Theo's magical accessory acted as a homing beacon to their secret fort. That bracelet holds her power. While William teases Eric, Clarice senses a strange, rhythmic, magical hum. Could this mysterious vibration be part of the children's secret trap against the wicked Count? Spotting a hidden tripwire above, she smiles, refusing to spoil the children's clever and hard-earned handiwork. As she carries the sleepy toddler, Eric shyly invites her to the kingdom's legendary Lantern Festival. He describes a magical night where thousands of glowing butterflies dance across the infinite starlit sky. It sounds like an enchanting scene plucked directly from a legendary, star-crossed fairy tale. The boys will star in a play. Clarice imagines their adorable costumes until a mental tug interrupts. Moments later, Clarice is forced to face her past, the miserable, grumpy old troll known as her uncle. Summoned to the drawing room, she sits beside the Duke, staring down the venomous Count Nocturnal. The air turns icy. The Count aggressively demands her immediate return along with her precious stone. Albert remains unshakable, coolly stating she stays until the final second of their binding magical contract. But the Count smirks, revealing only 1 month remains. Has their time together truly vanished so fast? Grief strikes Clarice at the thought of parting, while the children secretly eavesdrop from the hallway's shadows. Eric's blood boils as the Count boasts of Clarice's forced engagement. Like hell you will. Eric nearly snaps, but William restrains him, whispering that timing is everything. Behind the heavy doors, the brothers' resolve hardens into steel. A silent pact is born they will safeguard their precious family. The Count's vile plotting is cut short by Marvin's sudden arrival. Chaos erupts, war has broken out at the kingdom's edge. The Duke halts the meeting, ignoring the Count's disgusting, triumphant grin. This war is a transparent ruse, even as Rusty offers a biting invitation. Secretly, the Count's shadows creep through the estate, hunting for the prince. Seriously, can we skip to the part where he gets wrecked? Rusty points the Count toward the restroom, warning of ancient curses. The fool scoffs, stumbling right into little Eric's path. He thinks he's found a pawn, but Eric is far from helpless. Swallowing the bait, the Count marches toward his own doom. Asterisk, squelch. Asterisk, a bar of soap sends the noble flying. He grabs a rope in desperation, only to be doused in vibrant purple. The kid's masterpiece begins. Enter the final boss, baby Theo. With a tiny roar, Theo hurls a toy, shattering the Count's crystals. That's our boy. Raising them right, aren't we? Trapped in slime, the Count faces Eric's legion of enchanted armor. William unveils a horrific illusion, nearly scaring the Count to death. Hair falling out from pure terror? The kids can't stop giggling, but the cornered rat finally snaps with murderous intent. He seizes Theo, but a cold blade meets his throat. It's the Duke. The Count's soul nearly leaves his body. Still, the audacity. He demands why the Duke isn't at the front lines. Albert's voice is ice. His knights handle such trifles with ease. Every move the Count made was already within the Duke's palm. Want to see how the trap was set? Let's rewind. The Duke had mobilized his forces the moment the threat appeared. His orders: crushing victory, no mercy for the invaders. Clarisse watched the drama unfold, joined by the Duke in the shadows. Ensuring she approved of the children's rebellion, Albert stayed close. Veiled by invisibility, they watched the Count fall for Eric's prank. Our little genius really outdid himself this time. To the Duke, this invasion was nothing more than a minor nuisance. With a flick of mana, he binds the Count in magical chains. Maria appears, confirming the Count's assassins have all been neutralized. Never underestimate a legendary knight turned headmaid. Albert reveals the truth. This was just a live-action lesson for the kids. William steps forward with the confidence of a true heir. He'll report these crimes to the king personally. Guards, take him. Later, Albert scolds the boys for their reckless, though effective tactics. His stern mask slips, revealing a proud father's rare, gentle smile. As the villain is finally dragged away in disgrace, the Count pathetically begs Clarisse for mercy, acting like it was all a simple mistake. But our heroine has officially reached her limit. The time for reckoning has come. Clarisse stands tall, demanding her uncle finally pay for his countless sins. He plays the victim, sickeningly weaponizing her father's words about family loyalty. Talk about a total piece of trash. He sneers that the Duke will never value her, claiming only a blood relative like him is her true ally. What a disgusting snake. Suddenly, the ducal family arrives, with little Eric stepping forward to passionately defend his new mom. Family is about love and care, not just blood, the young master boldly declares. Moved to tears, Clarisse recalls her years of soul-crushing loneliness. She tried so hard to be loved, yet only found despair. She officially severs all ties. The Count howls in protest, claiming the Queen's law still binds them together as family. Does he really think the Queen will save his pathetic hide now? He reveals one last trap. Clarisse's supposed fiancé is the Queen's ally, but the Duke shuts him down instantly. That engagement is void, the Duke coolly declares, because Clarisse is already destined to be my wife. Talk about a power move. He reveals a marriage contract, challenging any lower status suitor to dare oppose him. It's a total checkmate. Once the chaos settles, Albert requests a private moment with Clarisse to discuss their sudden engagement. Alone in the drawing room, they have no idea the kids and Rusty are outside, eavesdropping on every word. Is the wedding actually happening? Sadly, Albert claims the declaration was just a clever tactic to silence her uncle. He says the paper was a fake but secret wingman. Rusty already has the real contract ready. Rusty is the ultimate shipper. Meanwhile, the duo agrees to investigate this mysterious fiancé lurking in the shadows. Despite the awkward atmosphere, Albert suddenly drops a heart-fluttering, casual compliment. He admits she'd be the perfect wife, praising her warmth and confessing she's the only woman he feels comfortable with. My heart! Albert, that is clearly more than just comfort. Blushing hard, Clarisse spills her tea. As he tenderly tends to her hand, her heart races at his unexpected gentleness. He confesses he never planned to marry, fearing he's unlovable and wanting to protect Eric's future inheritance. Selfless as always, Clarice just wants his happiness, telling him he deserves the most wonderful wife in the world. Deeply moved by her pure heart, he grips her hand tightly, whispering her name with eyes full of hope and unspoken yearning. That's the end for today. What do you think of this slow burn romance? Like and comment for the next part. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for updates. See you all in the next chapter.